Let's scrap the stress test. Then what happens to the market? Stay tuned to this week's episode of Prime Prophecy. Promise you, it'll be worth it. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Prophecy. So glad you could join us here. With a little bit of breathing room from the spring market, I was able to finally divert some attention to the new brokerage that we started a few months back ago. It's been a lot of work scaling up the operations while maintaining quality. And as we scale up, if you know any friends or family that's looking for and deserves the first-class experience that you'll get from being my client, make sure you share my contacts with them. I'll leave it on screen for you. We may even send you a little gift in the mail as well. Now, before I break down the stress test consequences, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And if you enjoy the content, you can subscribe to the channel. That's right here. And if you do like this content, why aren't you subscribed already, right? Makes sense. Thanks. So there has been so much talk about the stress test constantly and how it's made the market softer. On the contrary, given the market finally showed some signs of life as per the May Market Watch, which I'll put a link in the description below in case you missed that, I think we'll see no changes. However, there is talk about the dreaded stress test that could be up for some modification. For a quick refresher, the stress test forces all buyers to test at 2% or 200 basis points or bips for all the you bankers, higher than the posted rate for a mortgage. So if you're going to get a mortgage of say 3.5%, the lender will have to test you at 5.5% before they give you the money for your purchase. In hindsight, that seems like a great idea with such Canadian debt rising so much. However, it's had such a profound effect on buyers, especially first-time buyers, because the average Torontonian, and you're not average, by the way, if you're watching this video, because only 3% of Canadian mortgages are actually rental, but I diverge, the general public is just screaming to have it removed because it's affecting them to buying their next house. Ultimately, the stress test is reducing the buying power by around, say, 20% or so. So if you scrap it, you could potentially be approved for 20% more money. So if you were pre-approved for about $500,000, that would make that you would be approved for $600,000 if we remove the stress test. Oh, how a simple change could make such a landscape effect on the entire market. Now, there are many discussions as of late regarding what we can ultimately do to help the Canadian citizens with the biggest purchase of life. There have been many options thrown out there, such as extending the amortization period, which would mean lower monthly payments, which ultimately means higher purchase power, reducing the stress test to 1% instead of 2%, completely removing it, and doubt that's going to happen because remember, it's federal. Exempt the first-time homebuyer from the stress test, plus the wacky one that just came out that CMHC is contributing money to your down payment for first-time homebuyers. Well, in my honest opinion, the stress test seemed like an overreaction to media headlines talking about how our debt levels are at an all-time high and the federal government just made the changes. As with most changes, it begins with a conversation and more people join until there's a critical mass that the government must take action, such as the rent control that was issued 2 years ago by the Wynne government. Now, without getting too political, I'm sure the federal election coming up this year, late 2019, some party is going to promise the removal of the stress test because OFC is on a federal level to get your vote. So this issue is going to be constantly brought up in the next few months. Now, do I agree with removing it? Yeah, for personal reasons, because I can buy more properties. For the city, I think it's a good idea because ultimately it helps people own their homes, and the removal of the stress test can help facilitate that because people want to own their homes. However, regardless of whatever it's removed or not, we're still going to ultimately have the one issue that I keep saying, supply issue. The removal of the stress test is going to just help the next Torontonian up, allowing them to qualify for that entry-level property right now. When that supply gets gobbled up and the prices go up and the next Torontonian, what happens to the next Torontonian? They're not going to be able to afford it anymore. Hence, the cycle just starts over and over again, probably with another issue in the city will complain as a whole. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, if you already own real estate, for us to realize this, as Torontonians, unless we have less demand by reducing the immigration or allow for more supply, meaning less red tape for development, the stress test is just the next talking point. There really is going to be another one after that and another one after that and another one after that. The stress test is just the lowest hanging fruit for politicians for you to buy your vote. Now, I repeat, in the next decade or two in Toronto, we will be very much seeing a clear separation for those who own properties and are landlords and do not. Very simply, the affordability is going to be so large that it's impossible for anyone to buy real estate unless you inherit money or just really wealthy. So much like the cities of Hong Kong, New York, Tokyo, and Paris, that's why you need to get into the market now before it changes in the near future. So just like Monopoly, buy real estate, hold on to it, and it's the best way to win. Until next time, guys, happy real estating.